It's Hollie's Hotspurs back with another one. Chatting all things Tottenham, we're second to none. Special guests every time, if it's win, lose or draw. The passion is high like Harry Kane when he scores. Or when Lloris makes a world-class save. We got Højbjerg running the mid every game. Settle down, stick around, share your thoughts with the panel. And make sure you're subscribing to the channel. Coys.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hollie's Hotspurs Live, where once again we are talking about a win, ladies and gents. And with me tonight to dissect everything, I am joined by three fabulous guests. First of all, I am honoured to have MBE Richard Whitehead Paralympic gold medalist. How are you this evening, mate?
Yeah, really good, especially after a great win at the weekend. It always spoils my week when Spurs play crap at the weekend, so I'm really pleased and happy. Everybody knows when Spurs have lost. This smile never comes out all week.
I love that. No, it's good to be smiling. Also with us, we have Wes. Wes, how are you tonight as well?
Yeah, all good. Thank you, Holly. Thank you for having me back on as well. As Richard said, it's always good when Spurs win. And yeah, can't stop smiling either, to be fair.
Nah, it is decent. And also, we have Max as well, mate. How are you this evening? Smiley as well?
Always smiley, especially after a Spurs victory, like everyone said. And yeah, it's just looking forward to dissecting the game, talking about it. And like, it's so much easier after a victory, isn't it?
No, definitely. Tell me about it. Not after last season when I was miserable nearly every week to discuss a loss. But no, it's great to obviously talk about that 1-0 win against Wolves at the weekend. So further ado, before we start and go into it, I just want to do the whole admin-y things. I mean, Chris is in here already with the great surname, so welcome in, Chris. And to everybody else that is tuning in, if you are rewatching this, thank you very much for tuning in as well. And make sure that you listen, subscribe and all the good stuff. So first of all, let's crack off with it. So Richard, I'll come to you first. Obviously, we had a change in the lineup. And that was the fact that Perisic was starting over Sessegnon. So how did you kind of feel about that move of him coming straight into the starting 11?
Well, I think obviously with performances previous to that, even though Sess shows great potential, I think is the end result with delivery just hasn't really been there. And from that, I think that's why the change has been made. So I think also what they were looking for some consistency up that wing, and obviously Perisic with his world-class delivery, performance, experience. At some point, he's going to pass that through to Sess, but I think it was always going to happen. And you saw, obviously, with the assist, what he actually brought to the team. And for me, I think that's also needed on the other side. But Perisic really does show what the Spurs side needed last season, and that was that delivery.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're right. I think Sessegnon can learn a lot from Perisic. I know last episode we were talking about how he's going to feed into Sessegnon what he can develop and learn from Perisic. But Wes, kind of like what Richard said, he gives something different down that kind of wing. And we saw that throughout the game, not even for the flick as well onto Kane for the goal, but it was his persistence to go down that flank and put a good cross in.
Yeah, I think with Perisic, you kind of, whenever he gets the ball, you know what he wants to do. He wants to try and square up that opposing fullback, shift it onto his left and put a cross in. And usually his crosses sort of go towards the back post. And I think he tried to do that on a consistent basis throughout the game, obviously against Wolves at the weekend. So, yeah, I did feel a little bit sorry for Sess against Chelsea because I think he was getting a bit peppered down that particular side and, you know, just got really outnumbered. I think Tuchel done a bit of a number on us on that side and he was the one that kind of suffered from that. But I think obviously with the delivery, you know, as Richard has mentioned with Perisic, and we saw that in that Chelsea game as well for the equaliser, you know, when his experience coming into the team, I think it's only going to help us hopefully moving forward. So, yeah, I think the decision to kind of swap Sess and Perisic was kind of justified in a way, just off of that last game. But yeah, it looked like Perisic had a decent game, I'd say. I wouldn't say he was outstanding or amazing, but I think he was solid, is how I would put it.
No, that's a good shout. I mean, I think for the fan vote, he did get man of the match. And I thought, like you said, it wasn't like amazing, but he was probably the best player that was giving chances to other players to do something. We lack that kind of crossing ability, a bit like Richard said, inside on the other side as well, which we'll get into Emerson a bit later. But at least deliveries were coming in from him. But Max, it wasn't just the delivery, because this week he also got the assist, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's it. He offers so much to this side. I mean, Sessegnoni's a player we all want him to do well. We know he's got the ability, and we say this time and time again. But the fact Perisic is coming from a league being like one of the highest or like set piece, we know that he can create. We know that he can score. So the fact every time he gets the ball, it was actually kind of exciting. And I feel like that's the sort of player he is. Like everyone who says, "Oh, like, how's he doing this for his age?" And I think people forget now. Age is just a number now in football, especially with how healthy, fit the players can be. So every time I can see him starting a lot of games, to be honest. I mean, you feel confident every time he got the ball. Every time he got the ball, I was so confident about us going forward. There was times where you don't think he'll be able to get the cross in, and he wraps his foot around it, left or right foot, obviously. And I think that just shows like what he's all about. He's a bit. You could play him anywhere. You could play him that left wing. I still reckon if you put him in Son's position, he'd be able to do a job. Maybe not 90 minutes, of course, but he's shown time and time again, and I think that's why Conte's brought him in. He obviously, like Wes said, no one was outstanding on that football pitch. It was dire. That first half, it was horrible to watch at times, and it just takes that little bit of class. I mean, with his head this time to flick it to the back post, and obviously, who else is going to be there other than Harry Kane with obviously a record breaker goal?
No, definitely. And I think you're right, like you said, but the first half, and we'll get into it a bit later, but the first half was pretty diabolical, to say the least. But like you said, you needed that moment of class, and Perisic was the man, obviously, to deliver that flick back to Kane. But Richard, it shows that obviously our set piece taker, or not set piece taker, sorry, our set piece man that's coming up with these set pieces is actually working on the offensive kind of side of things.
Yeah, for sure. And going back to like Perisic as well, I think if we've got aspirations to be higher than top four, then we need not to be sentimental about the players that's in the team. We need to have players that are title winning top three players, and Sessegnon at the moment, with all aspects of his game, aren't where they should be. And the same with obviously Emerson on the other side. And if Conte is obviously saying that they're the pinnacle to how we play, then we need to have those players that are able to dominate in those areas. Perisic is definitely somebody that I believe can do that, with somebody like Sessegnon coming in when fatigue sets in with Perisic. Perisic will play, like you say, Max, a lot of games, especially against the bigger teams at home. And Hollie, like you said, I think with having a free kick stroke set play specialist within the team, they're going to be working quite heavily with players such as Perisic, because he's obviously on a lot of those situations. Sonny obviously with corners, but then obviously that rotates slightly. And has that taken something away from Sonny's game in last couple of games? I think a lot of people have said that obviously because of Sonny's form has not been where it should have been. I think maybe that's because his role in the team's changed slightly, and maybe Sonny's just having to get used to having real quality players of delivery within the team that maybe can take some of the workload from him. And he hasn't been like on point. You look at some of the chances he had over the last couple of weeks. There's some of those snap chances that he had last season that he just kind of buried. He's obviously miskicked him all his time. He's not been there this season yet.
No, you make a brilliant point. And I think bringing on to Son, like you said, there's been a lot of chat of dropping in him and let Richie start the next game. And part of you's kind of like, yeah, okay, let Richarlison have a go, because Sonny's head clearly isn't in it. And then part of you thinks, but it's Son. And I think you make a great point there, Richard, in the sense that maybe his role in the team is changing. He's trying to adjust that. I mean, Wes, what's your kind of thoughts on Sonny at the moment?
Yeah, Sonny, obviously, I think with Sonny, and I was mentioning this to a couple of people actually sort of over the weekend, it's almost like if he gets one goal early, as we saw last season, obviously he scored in the first couple of games of the season, he then goes on a run and he just flies. But then other seasons we've seen where it takes him ages to get into it. But then once he gets one goal, he's fine. And obviously with his quality, we know that the goals are going to come eventually. It's just a case of when and not if. But I think sometimes when you watch him, it's like if he's not scoring or assisting, you're kind of thinking like, what's he doing? Like, what's he bringing to the team? And, you know, usually it would be making those really darting runs, those penetrative runs in behind. You know, we've seen over the years when we had obviously like Toby with the pings over the top, he would get in behind. I know Dyer's sort of taken on that role a little bit more now. And you see it, I think we even saw it on Saturday, the one that Dyer sort of wrapped around the, sort of behind Wolves' back line for Sonny to get in. But yeah, it just feels like at the minute something's just not quite clicking. But you know, I fully expect him to come good eventually. It's just a case of when, I think, and not if.
Even his energy on the press, I think if you watch how he's like, how the team obviously Conte's want everybody to press when they're out of possession, and Sonny just doesn't seem to be into that at the moment. And I think that's why the couple of first halves that I've watched, I've gone, well, we're not really pressing from the front, and Harry's kind of doing a little bit. And then Kulusevski's trying to do everything down that side. And I think Sonny's maybe just not really into that press at the moment. And whether he's got a bit of fatigue from the off-season or he's kind of, like say, just readjusting, I think that's probably an issue for the first half of the game.
I think it's also part of like our expectancy with Sonny now. Everyone just feels like
it's good to that, right? It's good to say that we want him to play.
Yeah. 100%. We know what, that's what I mean. We know what he can do. We know his ability. We know his goal scoring record. Like, you don't just win the Golden Boot for no reason. Like, he's an exciting player. You know he's going to make chances. So when he's not doing this, everyone's got that little bit of doubt. And it's like, how many games do you keep going before you are allowed to make a change? Because we've never actually been able to have a change. Because you looked at the bench in recent seasons, and we've, like, no disrespect to like your Lucas Moura's, your Bergwijns, all of them, but they just never cut it. So now being able to see a £60 million striker, or forward, should I say, in Richarlison, it's like, it's not because Son's bad. It's because Richarlison looks up for it. Like, look at Richarlison. He's come on the recent game. He came against Chelsea. These two games where the results could have gone completely different, he's helped change that. So it's not like, oh, just see out 20 minutes, see if Son has a snapshot, has a goal. It's make a change while we can. Like, it's nice to have these options. Like, we haven't had options before, so it's not about slating. If it was Kulusevski that was on a down, I'd be saying the same thing. It's just it's Son, and everyone, because it's Son, like Golden Boy, Mr. Nice Guy, we all love him. You want to see him do well, but it's just nice to have a change sometimes.
Yeah, it's almost like, how long do you wait to put Richarlison in? Because like you said, he looks hungry. He's made a difference every time he's come on. If it means the roles are reversed, start Richie, then bring Son on, and then Son's hungry. Like, it could be that kind of thing. But it is really interesting to see the fan base kind of split on it. And you never want to see him not do well. I think he just needs a bit of a rest, or a bit of a refocus. Like you've all kind of said, it just doesn't seem to be clicking at the moment. But for one guy that it is clicking for, Richard, is Harry Kane, because he's breaking records once again.
Yeah, he's obviously he's one of those strikers where historically, like, a bit of a slow starter. I think that all depends on, obviously, pre-season. You look at the pre-season games he's had this year, he's been not on it, obviously, even though it was obviously a Korean tour. So, and again, you kind of look at the aspects of that. Maybe Sonny's obviously that's been kind of real kind of energy zapping, or the stuff that he had to do over there, and Harry just kind of stepped up in those games and looked very sharp. And obviously Sonny didn't really kind of do that for me. And as a performance athlete, I look at all those kind of really key factors on how, when you're putting a team together, especially in the Premier League, you've got to be on it every game. And Harry knows, year after year after year, and he's learned from his mistakes. With age, he's now kind of maturing as not only as an England international captain and leading goal scorer, but also within the team as well. And he's maturing to know what his role is. And it's in that box, like Conte wants him in between those two posts, scoring those goals. And you don't doubt that he's going to miss. He's like, obviously, in training, obviously they're practicing these kind of set piece scenarios, as well as Harry's obviously the last person off the training pitch with the finishing drills. And you can see That's what professional athletes do. He's world class, clearly world class, and it's an honour to have him at our club, really. And I think as fans, we kind of see him every season, and we might have lost him the other season, obviously to Man City, and we didn't. And I think even though last season it was a little bit of a struggle, kind of getting him motivated, I think he's really bought into the Conte philosophy, and we're reaping the rewards this season. I think he's going to have a really good season this season, but we still do need a couple more signings to make sure that we're in that position moving forwards up the league.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you've got Kane beating records this early on, you know the kind of factor where he never really scores in August, and he is doing it now. And obviously, it was a 1,000, Tottenham Prem goal, and he reached 185 goals for a single club. Obviously beating Aguero, so that kind of speaks masses for itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, as Richard said, I think as every Spurs fan would probably agree, we're all pleased that Harry Kane plays for our club. And I think had he moved previously, I don't think fans of other fan bases would appreciate him in the same way that we do. It's almost a bit similar in some respects to when Berbatov left and went to United. We absolutely love Berbatov to pieces, and he was a Tottenham player. He goes to United and they all think he's the next Eric Cantona. And then it's like, well, hold on a minute, Berbatov's slightly different. But then United fans called him lazy. He was a sulker, everything like that. And they just never appreciated Berbatov really for what he was, apart from when he retired James Collins. But like I say, I think Kane is in that similar mould. And, in terms of if you want a leader, somebody to lead by example, he is definitely, as Richard said, last one off the training ground. He's the one that sets the standards. And I think, even a few years back, Danny Rose was saying like he is the one that is, sort of first out on the training pitch, the last one off. He's the one doing the extras all the time. And that then, other players are looking around going, well, if he's doing it, I've got to do it because I want to get to his level. And, I think it's only a matter of time before the England record goes. He'll be competing, with Ellen White, I think, at this stage, and things like that. And obviously he's chasing down Shearer's record as well. And everybody's very, very confident that will go to Harry Kane. He looks
athletic as well. He looks athletic.
Yeah, I think I've seen a few pictures from when he was there when he was with us under Mourinho, and it looked like he'd put on a little bit of timber. I don't know whether that was lockdowns or whatever, but yeah, he put on a bit of timber.
Just eat.
Yeah, just eat and Deliveroo is best mate. But yeah, I think now obviously, like you say, he's looking a lot leaner. He's still looking sharp. I think obviously with that Wolves game, I think the only thing perhaps we didn't see too much of was him dropping in and trying to link the play, and it was almost like we missed that Eriksen type of player that could be able to do that alongside Kane as well. And I think that's why it was sort of a frustrating afternoon for us, because we didn't really have any answers to, our solution usually is if we can't get it out wide and go that way, right, well, Kane will drop in, but Wolves seem to do really, really well at nullifying both options really. But yeah, I can't sort of say two more on Harry Kane, else Max won't have much to say.
No, I was actually just about to say, other than when he went 1-on-1 at Stamford Bridge and he missed, I nearly cried. I didn't think because I was sat right behind the goal, probably the best view of that, and it was just like, when Kane's through, all you're used to 99% of the time is celebrating. So for him to miss such a big opportunity, but he's been brilliant this season, and as always, he's been the man that we've had to ended up relying on. But then that's what he's there for. That's why he's such a poacher. That's why he's going to break hopefully Shearer's record in time to come. So yeah, I mean, Wes obviously said that all there is to say about Kane, but It's all right.
I'll give you something, Max, because obviously for the goal itself, obviously he sees that ball come over from Perisic's head in a split second, but he's there ready to pounce on it. So I know like Richard and Wes have talked about obviously his killer instinct to get that ball, but he's not really seen the flight of the ball and he's still got his head on it. Like it's amazing how he's managed to pull that off.
That's the thing. He's at the back post and he's like jostling with the centre back, and he's like pushing in, they're pushing each other. It's the fact that split second to turn his defender and suddenly just be 5-6 yards out, boom, easy header, empty net. it's kind of that's what makes the best strikers. Like they work on these sort of things. People think that it might have just fell to him, but he's had to get himself into that position at the end of the day. And it's kind of similar. I was watching Man City Newcastle and Haaland done it. Haaland just pulled himself away, and it looks like it's an easy finish because they make it an easy finish for being in the right place at the right time. And that happens with these top goal scorers like your Agueros, your like Berbatov, like players. People could say Berbatov was lazy, but the amount of goals he scored just from being in the right place at the right time, that's how you do it. I mean, in the Premier League, and that's why if you can do it in the Premier League, you're looked at one of the best, because obviously we all say it's the hardest league to do it in. It's the most exciting league. And that's why every team you come up against as well. Like Wolves aren't no walkover. They're a good side. So for Kane to be able to just dig that out of nothing, really, because it's a good little flick back post, but like, if no one's there, Kane makes himself there. So lovely jubbly. That's what we need. If we're gonna be winning games like that, you know what? It's going to be a tough watch, but they're the games that we would normally draw, or we would have conceded in the first half and gone on to lose. So there's definitely change around Tottenham at the moment, and it's not going to happen overnight. We know that. So let's just keep going.
Obviously, those 7 points that we've got now are 7 points that we didn't have last year.
Yeah,
and that's important to know that kind of you're making progress in those areas. And I know there's a lot of noise about obviously our noisy neighbours about how well they've started, but obviously a lot of their points they've won this season they already won last year. And obviously momentum's great in the league, but that also gets broken, and teams find out how you play and then adjust to that. And obviously what's happened is some of the teams that they've played this year, they're either weaker teams or teams that have come up and they've not adjusted to obviously their style of play. And I think this is where Conte is going to have the edge, where obviously a great tactician that's able to change from having those wing backs into that back four. I'm pretty sure that he will play a back four sometimes when those wing backs just aren't working. And that's why we need to obviously have that attacking midfielder that may either could start like a Maddison or could come off the bench and then just give us a bit more flexibility in that pocket, or even Kane dropping in and then playing Richarlison, Son, and Kulusevski with more of a kind of a deeper role.
I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that. I think
well, imagine Perisic and Kulusevski on the wing backs.
Especially if we're at home, like against some of these teams where we're going to have a lot of the ball being the home side. Like it's just so exciting. Like the things we could just signing Richarlison opens up like another world. Let alone Perisic, and just having like the whole Perisic talk. I won't talk about him too much, obviously, because we did at the start. But you don't have to. Conte hasn't got to worry about Perisic because he trusts him. So it's just like if he can focus, that left side's fine. Like I don't have to think about that, and then just focus on the right hand side. You know what I mean? With like whether it's Emerson or whatnot. So yeah, interesting times.
No, it is interesting because, like you said, I think, as we know, Conte's tactics is mainly play it down the flanks, and it does work on that side when you've got Perisic or when Sessegnon is feeling confident. It does work because Sessegnon's put some decent balls into the box at the start of the season, so it's there. It's like you say, it's the other side, isn't it, Wes? I mean, I give credit where credit is due. I don't think Everson's been playing poorly. It's just that when he gets into that position to put a cross in, it's not going to make the same impact that Perisic does on the other side.
Yeah, no, I think I'm glad he don't work for Pizza Hut or Domino's because he couldn't deliver anything. He couldn't deliver a pizza, Emerson.
I'm not a fan of Emerson.
Like you say, it's we get into some really, really promising positions, and it's like right. Even on Saturday, it's like he's up against Ait-Nouri, and you're like, go on, beat him, and it's he doesn't know really what to do, and then all of a sudden he goes back in towards Kulusevski, and Kulusevski's like, right, sod it, I'll do it. And I think Kulusevski's got really good delivery, but as the other guys have mentioned, with the wing backs, it's crucial that you have, good delivery from wide areas. Like we've seen it with Perisic from open play and obviously set pieces, but you can't just rely on one person just to keep producing worldy crosses all the time. It needs to happen from both sides. And I think that is potentially why Spence was brought in. Obviously he's a little bit younger than Emerson. So you're looking at it, can he develop and work on that part of his game? He can beat an egg. Obviously, hopefully with Spencer, obviously, when Doherty gets back up to sort of full fitness, because obviously he had a big injury towards the end of the season, that we might see a little bit of a change. But I don't think Conte trusts, as Max said, I don't think he trusts that right-hand side as much as that left-hand side as of yet. And I don't know if it's just a personnel thing or just that imbalance at the moment.
Like I said, I think you need to be ruthless. I think you need to, if it's not good enough, I think you need to upskill the team. There's 3 or 4 places in the team where if we're saying that we want to be third in the league, they're not going to get us third in the league. And Davis, for me, again, we need to have somebody that kind of we don't want a 7 out of 10 player all the time, and that's what he is. And he's reliable, yeah, but reliable isn't going to get you third. The wing backs is obviously both sides has been a problem in the past. I think Perisic maybe would be more of a stalwart in his position, but definitely that right side. And then that attacking midfielder that can literally unlock the door when that door slams shut. You remember those games last season where we'd be playing at home and the away team would just put 11 players behind the ball for 70 minutes, and we were just like, what is going on here? We're not even having shots, and it's just like sideways football.
I think that's the real
sometimes. Yeah.
Go on, Max. Go for it.
No, it's just having that player that can just like unlock the door sometimes. Yeah. We haven't had it for a while, and obviously we've always said, since Eriksen. It's like, how do we always know this as the fans? But as to whether it's been the managers, because there's a couple of managers that have come and gone. You could even say 3, or 4 if you were to include Poch. But it's like, how do the team and that not see this? Like the wing backs, obviously it helps with Conte playing a different formation, different system. So we've been lucky in the respect we haven't needed that player. But there will be games where we need that player, because the teams will know how to work us out, and it doesn't take long to work us out, because. Well, I'm just going to keep waffling. There'll be yeah. Go on, Hollie.
No, I was just going to say, like the only way around, I could think, not having a creative midfielder like your Eriksen is potentially Basuma, because Wes, you look at Bentancur, you look at Højbjerg, they're pretty much the same player. If you stick Basuma in there, will he drive with the ball a bit more? Like, I know Højbjerg does that for Denmark, but I'm not really seeing it for Spurs so much.
Yeah, Højbjerg is a player that frustrates me. I was obviously at the game on Saturday, and it was like any time he had to play off 2 touch, he would take 3 or 4, and it would really slow us down. But then when he had a little bit of time, and it was like, right, you can almost take your time, you can take those extra touches. He's pinging 40-yard balls as if like, you know, Daddy Perez from Real Madrid's watching him, and you're there going, hang about. Like, where's this coming from? So yeah, Højbjerg's one that really, really frustrates me. I think there was also times where the centre-halves have got the ball and they're looking for that player in midfield, and it's Højbjerg that's, you know, the deeper one he's trying to drop in, but he's hiding behind like the Wolves players, and it's like, just play off their shoulder and then receive on the half turn and try and drive us forward. But I think as for Bentancur, he's just been a revelation. I think I absolutely love the guy. You know, he gets his tick in, he kind of knows when to speed the game up and slow it down. And I think that kind of game intelligence is something that we've lacked massively in midfield. I'm even going to go as far as to say, like, we haven't had a player like that since Modric, really. So, yeah, I think Bentancur's made a big impression on me. Oh, don't get me started on Moose with Dembele, Richard. We'll be here all night. Oh, anyone that knows me knows that I love Moose. But yeah, I think even like with Bentancur, I think he just needs that foil, and whether that is Basuma, who I'd love to see more of, and I think it will be a case of when, hopefully, and not if, that he comes into the team, because I think, again, he'll offer something different. He's got the capability to, like you said, Hollie, take the ball, drive forwards with it. But yeah, I think we still need that little bit of that creative knack in those pockets, just to you know, get on the ball, link that midfield play to the attacking unit, and yeah, hopefully then we will see a little bit more and a little bit different in terms of the way we're playing. But yeah, it will definitely help us. But I think Basuma, you know, from what he's done so far, obviously in his Brighton days, he was absolutely brilliant, and I think he's just getting weaned in a little bit with Tottenham. But I think he's a player that we're all gonna we're all going to come to love eventually, because it's just going to be one of those where we're like, how did we survive without him before? It's going to be like a bit of a throwback to when Victor Wanyama was able to move and just plug holes and plug gaps. So yeah, I'm excited to see Basuma a little bit more in this Tottenham team, definitely, and obviously to get him.
Can't wait. Can't wait to see him in action. Just like we've seen little bits and not enough. I want to see him like full 90 minutes. When the crowd are behind him at home, because everyone loves him. They've seen what he can do. It's like new signs. You sign someone new. It's just you want to see him playing all the time, because. What was it? We were there the other day. I can't remember what was it. Was it a Chelsea game or it was one of them? And then it was like there's only one signing out of all the signings that were actually starting. It was like when you sign new players,
He's not going to change your winning formula, though, is he? That's the thing. No. It's like the main thing is to 3 points, and he's what he's trying to do is he's drip feeding obviously the new players into the system. And they're all going to have key parts, clearly, with the amount of games we're going to play. And if we go deep into the cup competitions as well, they're all going to have to play.
No, you're right. I just like to see, maybe, I don't know whether he'll do it against Forest. We'll get on to that later. But it'd be nice to see him in a different partnership of the likes of Bentancur and Højbjerg, because that Wolves game, there was a lot of hairy moments, Richard, because I was sat there in the first half thinking, if they had a decent striker and if they could finish their dinner, it could be a different story at half time.
That's it. I spoke to one of my close work colleagues that I used to work with, and he's a Wolves fan, and he said that's what they were missing, just somebody to put the ball in the back of the net. They did so much good stuff creatively in the first and the middle thirds of the pitch, but at the top of the part, where obviously all the magic happens, they just couldn't deliver. So. It's interesting, though, isn't it? Because we've had a couple of games now where the first halves have been very stale, not on the front foot,
abysmal.
and not really adventurous enough. I don't think they obviously trust Conte's philosophy and how they want him to play, but do they believe in their own ability? Maybe that's something that they need to have a little bit more kind of work on, especially in that first half. In the second half, obviously, they've got a roast and it came out, it was just all different. I still think if you've got the weapons on the bench, it's just as fans and as obviously a manager, he's going, look, whatever. If we go in 2-0 down, we can bring these guys on that can massively change the game. What we want to see is we want the whistle goes and they're on it from minute one. And that's where we maybe need to make those 2 or 3 acquisitions to reinforce that. And these other guys that I still think, they're not really showing it still. They need to, like Emerson, Doxy, I just think they're not.
How do we get the philosophy?
Go on, mate.
Sorry, Richard. How do we get the philosophy of just like coming out full guns blazing from the first minute? Because, like you said, it's 2 games now. They've had to wait till half time for anything to really get going, and we've been lucky, like very fortunate. That's not going to happen very often again. You can't ride all season having a bad first half, because who's to say the second half's not going to always be? It could be like the first. So I just don't know with someone. I don't know how. Like, I mean, Wolves have plenty of chances.
I think it's pushing up the pitch, isn't it? It's just committing those players further up.
We're just not ruthless enough from the first minute. We're just inviting, like, Wolves had a lot of possession that first half, and like Hollie said, if they had a goal scorer on the pitch, like they could have easily necked one. There was one header just wide. There was one that I think Lloris, he was lucky, he could have taken it round him, but luckily the angle was a bit harsh on him. And you find yourself 1 or 2 down, especially 2 down. If we'd gone 2-0 down or something, that was game over. Especially in the Chelsea game, it was just. Yeah. I don't know. I hate happens. It's like there's no point watching the first 45 minutes at times because
turn up at half time.
Yeah. Why have I got to wait till half time?
I know that's the thing. I think to myself, if we do get a goal in front, are we still going to keep pushing? Because we haven't really been in. I know, obviously, against Southampton, Ward-Prowse scores first. Then it was a kick up the butt to go and score some goals. Chelsea, we go 2-0 down, kick up the butt. We finally find the draw. And then against these, if that was, say, that we went behind again, it'd be the same scenario. What happens when, God forbid it, we score a goal first, Wes? Do you hope that we do kick on? It's a very strange, I can't believe I'm talking about it, but it's a strange conundrum to think about because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, it's interesting because if we, like you say, if we do score the first goal, it's almost like I feel like with us under Conte, especially, we are a second half team, 100%. And it's almost like you said, with the Southampton scenario, we go a goal down and it kind of wakes us up a little bit. It's like, hold on, we got to start playing here. But I think we've seen, especially under Conte, if we do go a goal up, it's like, right, okay, we'll see how the next sort of 5-10 minutes goes. We know there's going to be an onslaught of pressure from the opposition. And then I think we just go full counter. I think the prime example of that was City away last season. Obviously, we scored really, really early. And it was just a case of, right, let's just ride this wave of City pressure. But we know that because they play really high, there's going to be a lot of space in behind. And we've got the players to run in behind and capitalise on it. So I think it's almost that leading and luring that opposition into a false sense of security to then hit them on the break. And obviously with the front three or even now four with Richarlison, we've got players that are more often than not clinical in front of goal, and they do take their chances when they get them. So I think that is probably how it will work if we ever do score an early goal this season.
I don't know. Yeah, I think it was just a strange. It literally came to my head. I was thinking to myself, actually, we haven't actually gone in front first yet. What's going to happen? But no, slightly back to obviously the game at the weekend. I just want to talk about obviously Sanchez, and I'm probably not his biggest fan because of his Bambi legs sometimes. But Max, I'll come to you first. It was another clean sheet from him, so I can't be too harsh on him.
I'm not his biggest fan either. I feel like he's just prone to a mistake, especially when he's next to Emerson. There's no chance I can see those two like at the back together. They actually scare me. If you're coming up against the good attackers, players that know what they're doing, they will punish you. He's just not this player that we all thought he was going to be, unfortunately. As soon as Romero's fit, he's getting swapped back out, and I think that just goes to show that you need another centre back. I see you see everyone like, yeah, it's all well and good because we got 3 points, yeah, but watch everyone jump on their backs as soon as we concede a couple of goals, as soon as we have a loss, and everyone will realise that we do need another centre back. As soon as there was that Romero injury scare, we're thinking, he could be out for like more than a couple of weeks. God, everyone was like instantly transfer market. No one even said, "Oh, don't worry, we've got Sanchez. Don't worry, we've got Lenglet." It was just, we need to go 30-40 million on another centre back, and I think that just goes to show that proves it, doesn't it? That just shows there's no faith there.
And I think you're right. Like, yes, sorry, Max, I keep cutting you off. I think you're right in the sense that obviously I'm thinking the same. If I could, I think we'd all choose Romero. I'd rather choose Romero with one. Obviously, if he was on it by himself, just him there all the time. But we can't have that because obviously you can't. So I mean, Richard, you kind of on the same stance. I mean, the transfer window hasn't finished yet. It's not ended. Are we going to get the likes of, I know this name Bastoni's been ringing around, but I think that's pretty much done now. I don't think he's coming in. But we need someone of that calibre, I feel, to come in before the window shuts.
We need more key signings coming in for those positions because they're key positions. I'm actually, with certain players, you look at different behaviours that they had, especially previous seasons, and I think Sanchez for me has definitely improved. He worries me when he's either laterally passing the ball or passing the ball backwards. When he's moving the ball forwards or running onto the ball, he's fine. When he does that silly thing when he slides for the ball with both legs, I really don't like that. When he thinks, he's like, if I slide with both legs, I'll be fine. But if they bring the ball back on themselves, then you're like 20 metres off the pitch. I'm like, why you do that? Don't commit yourself fully. He's improved, I think, his mentality. I think he is a good cover player for Romero. Romero's obviously was a great find by the club and a truly international world-class player in the making. The other clubs are like going, wow, this is a proper, like, fully committed centre-back, dominates play, great on the ball. If he makes a mistake, he never dwells on it. He's always moving forward. Sanchez is one of those where you can tell, even with his demeanour, if he makes a mistake, it's on him all game. And luckily, like you're saying, Max, at the moment we've had the games that it enables him to gain confidence moving forward. I think we might not sign a centre back because I don't think there's a centre back that the club actually wants at the moment. So that's why they're looking at like Championship centre backs, because they're saying actually the ones that we want are actually committed to the club for another year, or they're just not available. And I think with Conte's kind of interviews, you kind of, when you dissect them, you can kind of really think where he's going with his transfers. So he's kind of saying if anybody goes out in those positions, the clubs wanted to replace them, which is great, but the club aren't going to overcommit their funds to players just for the sake of it, which is also great knowing, because in the past we've bought silly and the players just haven't really delivered. You were talking, Hollie, about some of the players before. And fans as well, when your expectations so high and they just come in and they've not bought into the philosophy, that's worse than not having the players there at all, I believe.
No, I think you're spot on. Obviously, we won't mention one name because he's now gone out on loan. But it's true. You say you can splash all the cash, and he comes in and he's not the type of player you thought he was. So it would be silly to throw money at someone that you're not too sure on. But yeah, like you said, I don't think Sanchez is obviously going to be one that would take the reins off Romero. No chance. But maybe he is okay for rotate. I mean, Wes, are you kind of on the same point of that before we move on to obviously Forest next weekend?
Yeah, I think Sanchez's job and his role has definitely changed within the team. I think obviously when he come in, it was like, yeah, wow, we've got a young up and coming centre back, and it was like he could pretty much be anything he wanted to be. Sadly, he decided to become Bambi on ice, which was a real shame. But yeah, I think now, obviously with the likes of obviously Romero, as the boys have said, there, top class centre back, up there with one of the best in the world for me. And I think, look, if you're asking a squad player effectively, which is what Sanchez is now, to come in, do a job, he's kept a clean sheet. There wasn't really too many times where I was actually worried. It was more almost the other side where sort of Pedro Neto was, and when he was driving forwards, that was the real threat for me. So I was so glad when Bruno Lage took him off. I really was. I said to my dad, I was like, I'm so glad he's gone. He's been taken off because I thought he was absolutely excellent for Wolves. Him, Matinho and Neves for me were in line for man of the match on Saturday, and I don't know how it's gone to Højbjerg, but that's another conversation, I think. So yeah, but like I say, for a squad player, I think he does okay. And it's one of those, when a squad player comes in, you're not expecting too much anyway, because they're not going to start every week. But yeah, I think he done all right. Can't really complain. He's kept a clean sheet. Didn't look too worried. But yeah, my worry is if he does start, obviously against Forest, that's going to be a huge worry, because I think that's a trickier game than people are making out, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads us in lovely, Wes, to the next bit, which was well rehearsed. I like that. Which is obviously we do have Forest next. And going off their kind of results, I mean, they've lost 2-0 to Newcastle. They won versus West Ham, but they obviously drew to Everton. So Max, from that, what's your kind of takes? I mean, we spoke about Wolves being someone we need to brush aside. We didn't exactly brush them aside, but we got the results.
Mm-hmm.
So are you kind of hoping the same sort of thing?
Well, I think my takes on them beating West Ham's obviously a brilliant result. That's obviously one we like to see. West Ham being absolutely shocking at the moment. And on that note, I haven't heard any West Ham fans piping up in the first 3 games, and that doesn't normally happen. So that's nice. They were unfortunate not to beat Everton. Obviously, Gray got that late goal. You could argue Everton obviously not the greatest side at the moment as well. But do you know what? I think they're going to do all right this season, Nottingham Forest. I think they're going to have a few surprise performances. Just hopefully it's not this weekend against us. I actually think it's quite a big statement if we can go there and actually score some goals, because it'll be nice actually to get that first goal, not go 1-0 down, because you know what's happening. You go 1-0 down, a team like that, they see that we're meant to be a team on the up and coming, and it's a game where players like that, for those sort of clubs, like, no disrespect to them, but they instantly, like, the 10 out of 10 performances happen for like those sort of games, when it always seems to be when Tottenham are in town. So it would just be nice just to go there, get the job done. It's another one where I can, as long as we're sensible, we keep the ball, we don't give away any silly opportunities. Just go there, do what we've seen the teams like in the likes of like the Chelsea's in the past, where they go to these grounds, they kill the game, get the job done early. I mean, not like they done the other day, obviously, but let's just see a proper Tottenham team performance, and one where we can properly judge where we're going to go this season, because it's not an easy place to go. I'm sure it won't be. I mean, I'm really jealous that Wes is going to be heading up there. I'm going to still do my best to try and get a ticket, but we'll see what happens.
No, I think you're right. Like you said, I don't think we can underestimate them, because, like you say, teams like this want to prove a point to big teams like Tottenham. And like you said, sadly, sometimes Tottenham are the ones that do that. But Richard, I'm hoping we don't obviously bow down to them and make them come and play us, because like you said, and like Maxie said, this is another game that we need to get the job done and get another 3 points.
Yes, I'm a Nottingham lad, so I live 4 miles from the stadium. I've done a bit of work with the academy as well. So oh, there's always one, right? And I've done some work with the academy, so, and I've got a bit of intel about the players that have come in. I think Forest it's an interesting concept. With I think the fans play a massive part in the stadium. They are massively behind the team, win, lose or draw. Very much atmosphere like at Crystal Palace. You're quite close to the actual pitch, and a big fan base outside the ground as well as inside the ground. So very intimidating. Playing wise, I've seen most of the games. I think they were very lucky against West Ham. Obviously, they missed a penalty. They hit the crossbar twice. I think Everton are poor. A really poor side at the moment. For me, I think we'll beat Forest. I think they've brought in so many players. How can you kind of transform the whole team? I hope the Forest captain Joe Wall's not listening as well, because I know Joe Wall really well. I think we'll beat Forest. Maybe 2 or 3-0. I think we do well. I think our style of football really is good for the Forest game, because they're going to try and come at us the same. And I think it might be a game where we in the first half score and then dominate in the second half.
I like that. I would like that if we scored first. That'd be fabulous. But no, it's great to have a bit of intel from you, Richard. I like that. So thank you very much. And Wes, are you kind of on the same stint as well as these guys?
I think this has got the real potential for us to be a banana skin, and that's just me being a Spurs fan, to be fair, because we all know we've been there before, haven't we, boys and girls? So we all know that with it, like I say, this has got the potential to be a real banana skin. So I think Conte has really got to drill into these players. Just sort of how important this game is, because I think Forest have done really, really well, to be fair. I'm fully with Richard. They were really fortunate against West Ham. I think West Ham can count themselves really, really unlucky in that game. But I think if you'd have said to Forest, look, you've got 1 win, 2 draws from your first sort of couple of games in the Premier League, they'd have bitten your hand off for it. They've signed obviously near enough everybody. I think the owner's playing Football Manager, I think, and he's just gone, right, promotion, here we go. Let's have a field day. But yeah, I think they've done okay. I was really, really impressed with how they played against West Ham. They used the crowd, and that played, as Richard said, it plays a real part in the way that they play. So we've got to really manage the game well. We've got to start bright, start sharp, keep that crowd quiet, especially first 15, 20 minutes, because they are going to be bang up for it. Because it's like one of the real sort of big boys in the Premier League is coming to their place, so we've got to really quieten them down and just get a job done. I don't care if it's like similar to Watford, New Year's Day, where it's a bit of a scrappy game and we nick one at the end. I don't care as long as we win. And as Max said, I will be there, so it'll be absolute limbs in the away end if and when we do score. And that's obviously if we do. So, but like I say, I think this is going to be a really tough game.
We're definitely scoring. Definitely scoring.
I hope so. But yeah, I'd love nothing more than an away day win. To be fair,
I love the way Wes is rubbing this in, Max.
Sorry.
I just love it.
You're lucky I don't know where you live.
No, but I think you guys are all kind of right. I think like Wes has said, it'll be a real statement if we don't slip up. I hope we don't, but it'd be great, like you said, if we overcome that banana skin. And like you, Max and Richard have said, we need to just go there and get the job done. Just brush them over, like I hope we were going to do against Wolves. But anyway, like I said, it should be a decent game. So hopefully next Monday at 7 p.m, I'll be joined by new guests where we'll be able to discuss another win in the Premier League, but we'll have to wait until after the weekend. But before we go, I want to say a big thank you to you three that have joined me tonight. I know that there's obviously a big game at the moment, and we'd all like to go watch that. So first of all, without doubt, I want to say a big thank you to obviously Richard first. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Let everybody know where they can find you. Oh, I love the shirt and all, man.
Classic, yeah. Just Marathon Champ on Twitter, and then Instagram all over that. And yeah, it's great seeing what you guys are doing. Obviously, follow you guys, and it's great to see that you're all kind of feeding back the stuff you're doing when you're at the ground. I can't get to the ground all the time, but when I do, I try to get there as much as I can. I'm actually the Spurs Ability Ambassador for the club, so that's promoting inclusion, equality, and diversity in the club, which is really important to me. And everybody can experience that. Obviously, the atmosphere that we all like to have on the ground. And I've got London Marathon. That's my next big thing coming up in October.
Oh, nice.
I think my 7th London Marathon. So I'm like, training's a bit tough at the moment. So I'm like, it's too hot, or there's other things going on like football or podcast to do.
Oh, I love that. Well, I wish you luck in that. I'm sure you'll go out there and smash it. But no, thank you again for joining me. It was lovely. And also, Max, where can everybody find you doing your thing as well?
Yep. So vlogs is for when I can get to the game. Wes needs to get. Just Extra Max on all the socials. Probably the Instagram. You'd probably see that I'm most active. Love it. I don't know what it is. I love it over there, but I think it's just the interaction. I just love talking to fans and putting up random things on the stories. But yeah, no, Extra Max across the channels, and yeah, thanks for having me on again, Hollie.
No, cheers. Thank you. I hope you find that ticket in time, by the way. And Wes can stop winding you up.
I could buy a ticket, but I'm not paying 280 quid for one.
No, I don't blame you, to be fair.
That's Richard. That's what I've seen on some of the sites, and I just think it's disgusting. It's absolutely. I've seen one for 150. That's the cheapest that I've managed to see so far.
Why do fans do that? Try and resell them and make so much money on tickets? It's ridiculous.
It's these websites. I feel like these websites must just grab a few, like bots when trainers come out and stuff. So they must do. But what can you do? I obviously just need to get my loyalty points up, but I can't if I can't go.
Oh no! I hope you find one for cheaper, because that is ridiculous. Don't go spending that kind of money. And Wes, thank you again so much for joining me. Where can everybody find you doing your thing as well?
Yeah, on Instagram is at Wezo32. I literally just take pictures of me being at either Spurs or at other football grounds. Like to go as often as I can, following Tottenham up and down the country. At Wezo10 on Twitter, which is like a Moussa Dembele fan account, pretty much, because he's the greatest of all time, which is why I didn't want Richard to mention his name, because I've been here for a while. And obviously I run my own football coaching business as well, in Milton Keynes, offering loads of different football sessions. So at WM32 Football, across all social media platforms for that as well.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody else that was in the chat tonight. And if you're rewatching this, thank you very much. And like I said, this should be out on audio form by Wednesday if I'm on it quick enough. But like I say, thank you again to everybody that's watched. And until next time, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Go Spurs.